today. Hello and welcome to our recording for the Neo4j lab. In this recording, we will go through all the stages, the step by step, on how to use the Neo4j sandbox to implement models and so on and so forth. Together with me, I have Abdulrazak and Umar Ahmed, and I myself am Simko Gaderi. So to continue, we'll begin with the introduction. And as you already know, maybe Neo4j is a graph database management system. It simplifies for the user to create models for relationship between nodes in different types of databases. So what it basically does is that it presents to us a model where different types of entities in one database or several databases communicates with each other or have some kind of relationship with each other. And what the model does is it shows us exactly how they are connected with each other, and also what we can acquire certain type of information from the relationships and the nodes in the model. Example, in our project, we were aiming to get some information out of a Twitter account or a Twitter user, and the model that we implement, or the model that we that manifests itself after we implement the code. In our case, is that we want to see if the Twitter account or the Twitter user, how many times it was mentioned or where it was mentioned, how many hashtags it has used, how many followers, and so on and so forth. And why this specific project is suitable for our design, for design in a graph database, is because Twitter is you could say it's one of those places where you have the most packed information in stored databases, and so that's a perfect it's a perfect platform to use to draw a graph database, since the data is unlimited, but it's also very structured at the same time. So that's why it's very suitable for a graph database, the Twitter scenario. And why did we use exactly those types of nodes and relationships? And we can say, what I spoke about earlier, the hashtags, the mentions, and so on and so forth. Why we use those is because the labels and the properties are the only ones that manifest a relationship between the different databases. So if someone, for example, another Twitter account or Twitter user mentions another Twitter user, that's the only type of way the database will have the two different databases will have some sort of relationship with each other. So without these nodes and data and relationships, our data doesn't give us any valuable information. Now I will give over the word to Abdulrazak, and he will speak about the questions we have implemented, or the questions that we have built for this project, and to see and eventually get some answers out of those questions.
Hello, hi. This is the question we want to present through using this Neo4, because if you are a Twitter user, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. So if you are a normal person, you cannot see what happened behind the scene. So that's why we are using this so-called Neo4j graphic that database. The questions we want to deck is the following, like how many users follow back on my account, and the other question is which users put Twitter about the user that the user is not following. We can see the how many who's the most in our followers. For example, if I am a Twitter user, I have a lot of followers. Whose follow me? One of my followers maybe have some kind of influence person who has a lot of followers on his account. So these questions will answer all those kind of questions. For instance, what are the most used hashtag for my account, and so on. We also get, for example, who's mentioning my account. One of them from my followers or none of my followers. We can see all these questions through using this Neo.jl4 graphic. And now I'm gonna give the order to Omar, and he's gonna show us the experimentation about the code.
So basically this is an example of our computer model where you can see the nodes and the relationship we will show later, and also the labels between the nodes and the relationship. And if we go down a little bit, and this is an output of our, as this is a verification of the model containing all intended nodes and relationship. And it's a graphical prototype of the data model with its relationship and also its nodes. So this first question, who's mentioned the user on Twitter? So this is basically a screenshot from our output in the Neo4j graph database. So this shows like when the model shows us where the user is mentioned specifically by the followers and non-followers also. So then you can see like if you go to the next part, like the next screenshot we got from the output, this shows the specific count for the users that mentioned you, like how many times you have been mentioned by other followers or non-followers by count, like in hierarchy order. So this is in the table form. Then if we go down a little bit, and this shows as Abdirsakh mentioned earlier, the most influential followers of the user as a table, and this answered the question 4. So you can see like Kalani Ball Free is the user with the most influential follower. So if we go down a little bit, and this shows like the most hashtag used by the user, and it answers the question 3, and this is also related to the user we mentioned earlier. And you can see that by count, like how many hashtags have been used. And this is good because some inappropriate hashtag can have been used in this by this user. Then you see the user see like the specific hashtag. So if you go down a little bit, and this is the links the user retweets, and also this answers the question 5. And you can see that the user retweets like a YouTube link, and if you click at the link we will go to the YouTube site, but we will not show that now. And the other table shows the following back rate of the user, so that answers the first question. So now this shows the user that tweets about the user without the user knowing, and this answers question 2. And this is good because if someone following you and you're not following them and still talk about you, then you don't know, like, because you don't follow that person. So it's good to see which user which follower is talking about you specifically. So that is what this table showed. And now we will demonstrate the SQL query in the Neo4j graph database. And we can start by showing like who is mentioning the user on Twitter. So to show that, we copy and paste the query here, and then we run it, and you can see now we have chosen the limit 10. So it shows the 10 users that have mentioned you specifically. So for example, if we click on this user, for example, and we go here, then we can see like how many times they have mentioned you specifically. Then if we pick like the number 1, and then we pick there, then we see like the source and the mentions, like it is via, the source is via Twitter, iPhone. So, and yeah, so yeah, then to go back to the next question, which is yeah, this shows we have only shown this, and this is the same for the previous question, who's mentioned the user on Twitter, and this shows in the table format. So yeah, it's we can see that here we can see that this is the same, like it's shown by count, like this, the first user mentioned me 30 times. Yeah, so if we run it, yeah, we can see that. So yeah, so to move to the next question, this shows which user tweets about the user that the user is not following. This is what we were talking about, and that can we see here. Yeah, then we copy that, the whole code,
or you can copy the first part in the
yeah, the whole code. Yeah, then we go back to the Neo4j.s, then we post that there.
You can do this one.
Yeah, doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
yeah, this shows like the users that follow you and who has tweeted about you, and which and the user that you do not follow. Yeah, which user tweets about the user and that the user is not following. And yeah, we show that now. And to move on to the next part, to demonstrate it and to show that our graphical database works, is what are the most used hashtag of the user. And then we go back to our code, and we see that there. This shows the most hashtag used by the user, and then we put it in our Neo4j.s and we run it. And yeah, this we show this area in as a screenshot that is basically the same thing. So yeah, it shows it. So if you go back to the next part, who was the most influential followers of the user, we see that there, and yeah, it's basically returned the 10 followers, the most influential followers. So in order, like you can see that Kalani B3 is 1, as we showed earlier in the screenshots, and we see that everything is functional and it's working. So yeah, and we move on to the next part, and what links to the user retweet show that it works. Yeah, and also this shows like we chose the limit 10 also, but in this user case he had only mentioned let us see what's okay, let us test that again. See, so it shows like it's only been one link that has been retweeted by the user, so it does not show 10, but the limit is 10. So if the user would retweet 10, it will show all 10. So yeah, and who is mentioning the user on Twitter, both known followers and followers, and we showed this earlier, right? So we don't need to demonstrate it. So basically I think this was all. So yeah, and this is the references we used as a group. So basically Simco, I'm gonna give the word over to Simco. He's gonna finish the presentation.
Yes, and as you've seen, we go through all the code, and already we could see, one could see that the tables were already created. We just wanted to go step by step by the code, but if one wants to see the code step by step, you just check the report and you'll get both the graph database in graph database form and also in table form. So thank you.